and they're too low, so we had to raise them back up.
I got my letter too, Eddie.
Yes, sir.
Me too.
I think
I
here.
live right next door to
all the
him, so I
sales
know
around
when
here
mine
has
goes
been-
up, it's
They're off
legit.
they're off the
Yeah.
sales, are off the.
Yeah, you can't find the house. Yeah.
they're off the sales.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why we,
Yeah.
it's not trying, we're not trying to kill anybody with taxes. But, you know, I have to answer to the state tax department. And if I show up and they show that I'm $40,000 per sale, too low, they're gonna write me up.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna get a letter, and the Board of Education get a letter saying your assessor is not doing his job.
Yeah.
And that's basically why, you know, we have to answer to them to stay in their good graces, so that's why we get a rate back up.
No, I understand. I'm glad you explained. That's why I asked the question to start with.
Did you want to review any of these documents that he just handed us?
And I understand where you're at. I mean, it's more money. When the sales are like they are, I mean, I got a letter. Believe me, I don't want to write that extra, and mine'll be a pretty good bit. I don't want to write that extra.
I'm not arguing the logic or the mathematics. Arguing, well, aside from the amount of time, I mean, who'd have thought a year and a half ago sheet of plywood would cost $80 for you walk in Dollar General, and it looks like you use it.
Believe me, I was going to build an addition, a garage addition, a two-car garage addition. And the prices before, and I got my permit and everything, and the prices doubled. I immediately stopped it.
I had just heard several years ago that when the taxes were lower, that perhaps Fayette County, West Virginia were going to get on board with actually making some effort to induce people in business to stay here. But from my humble opinion, and I know nobody likes to pay taxes, but it just seems like everybody, and I'm preaching to the choir, is just getting an ankle bit to death. The user fees, the gas is up 50%. It's almost to the notion it's easier to kick a man while he's down. So
Yeah.
I totally, I've been doing this job for a long time. I understand your point of view, because when I see something like this and I have to make a change, I know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna aggravate a whole bunch of people. I sent out 6,000 letters. The kicker to that is that's what the market is trending right now. Now, if the market crashes, which a lot of people in real estate business say it's going to, and if it does and property starts coming back down, we'll lower it down. But we have, you know, we're playing catch up. So the information that we used was July the 2nd, 2020 to July 1st, 2021. All those sales that I showed you happened in that time period. Next year, when we do it, we use the new year, and we'll go from there.
Probably be more, but
Pardon me?
probably gonna be more.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. You know, I know we had to raise our woodland value. People are paying $1,500 to $2,000 for an acre of trees or scrubland or whatever, because they want property to home on. And they're taxed.
I don't know if you guys knew this, but I researched a little bit, and between the last two censuses, just Fayette County lost almost 6,500 people. And to me, this isn't helping. I mean, I'm looking at the bigger picture here, coming out of my wallet. You know, Montgomery's dead as a doornail. You know, if you want to get anything other than toilet paper and you know, pencil, you've got to go back to Montgomery. Even as far as the Dina Village, we've got low-cost housing apartments at one end of it and a trailer park at the other, and it's not even a nice trailer park. You can throw a rock to burn out properties and trash, and I mean, you guys drive around, you see it, but I just can't see what we're getting. I understand the assessor's logic behind this, but I can't see what we're getting or what is actually getting approved. Jacking the property taxes up, I'm not making any sense.
No, I understand.
But, you know, and I'm not arguing, don't take this wrong, but there are two issues with property tax, okay? One is my part of it. I have to value it. And I have to value it like you're gonna sell it, or like whether you want to sell it or not. That's what the law says. You value it at market value. The other issue with taxes are the tax rates. I have no control over that. Tax rates come from the levy body. You guys, state, the excess levies, the Board of Education. That's, you know, so the rates are not set by us. And those are the two things that determine taxes. And I don't want to sound ugly or mean or hard-hearted, but my job's to put a value on it. And I have to value it based on what the market says it is. If it's worth $10, it's worth $10. And you know, we're doing mass appraisal. We're not always right, but we're passing our monitoring by the state of West Virginia, and we're trying to do our best. And like I said, we're not trying to kill anybody, but I know what happens because I had to push the button, make my own property give up. And you know, speaking of tax rates here in Fayetteville, the tax rates, like if your house, your value was here in Fayetteville, you'd probably be $150 more. You know, the rates are higher here in Fayetteville. Of course, the property value would be more too, you know. But you have, I mean, when you're coming in low like that, you have to change.
Again, I'm not arguing with y'all or your logic or anything. I completely understand that even to a larger point, perhaps the state of West Virginia could learn something, and that instead of, I remember for the longest time, Montgomery had parking meters. That's like downtown Charleston. There's nobody there to put money in the bank. Just a bigger picture of actually lowering taxes to induce people in business to come and to stay. I mean, look at Florida.
And I tell you what we have done. We have, I don't know whether you've heard about US Route 19 Corridor Management Plan. That was restricting development on 19. Now, I'm speaking for me, not the other two commissioners. If they want to, in my opinion, if we get infrastructure on 19, we bring more business here. We have the ability to lower taxes. The more people that do pay taxes, the more income that we get. Actually, the lower you could make it, the lower rates you can come up with. If you have more, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. That's what, and we did do away with that, and now we're working on some infrastructure for that area. But until more revenue comes, it's kind of like sometimes you got to have a certain amount of revenue. You got to have there's a standard amount you got to have to even operate the government. And then there's a point that there's too much and you can actually lower the rate. If it's, I mean, that's just, it's a lot of numbers, a lot of figures.
By law, if I would, and it's happened at times, if we were to raise property values up in this county and they go over a certain percentage, you guys have to have public hearings.
Yep. We can actually give that money back.
And the public hearings, you can come in, they're held for you to explain to the citizens what, you're gonna raise your rates, you're gonna lower your rates.
Right.
Or not raise your rates, but everybody's maxed out.
Yeah, this county's maxed. Yeah.
But, if they go up by all over the county by over a certain point, then you have to have a hearing and explain why you're not gonna lower your rate.
Yeah. But we could lower rate at that point
Yeah,
if it's feasible.
One of the things, and we share your frustration about what's happened to the valley and other parts of the county, beside it, other than Fayetteville. You know, I mean, even Oak Hill has suffered quite a bit. We have put in an application for broadband money that we hope to apply all the way down 60 and 61 to try to get broadband all the way down the mountain on both sides. And we've also been working on infrastructure projects with the mayors and the communities to try to do some upgrades and expansions for people who don't have water and sewer now. So there's some things like we've kind of changed our focus and gone back to the basics to try to, because as Commissioner Weiss is saying, we feel like if we don't get some of that basic infrastructure in, we can't attract development. And you know, as an engineer, without having that infrastructure in, we can't get people to want to develop. And then we are looking at and have asked for help from WVU Extension and others about some advice on what tax incentives we could offer to businesses once they're ready to come in. But we've been told over and over that the primary thing we need to offer them is basic infrastructure if they want to build here.
I think if we're working on public infrastructure projects as an engineer and stuff, one of the biggest impediments to anything getting done is the state, the DEP. I have nothing for the DEP. It's in my humble opinion, after working with it for 20 some years, it's like a self-licking ice cream cone. They exist just to give themselves something to do, because when you've got the UH and other people that can't trim trees because of an endangered bat, and you can't, build a road or do something because of a snail darter or a freshwater mussel. And I mean, to me, everything with government, you take a good idea and it just goes crazy. I mean, when I first started in the business in engineering in West Virginia in 1990, we could get a construction job turned around in 90 days. It's 5 to 6 years now. Just for the reviews, environmental impact statements, this and this gets mad. And that's why nothing gets done.
That's a big part of it. I mean, we suffer the consequences of that all the time because they give us money and then they tell us how we can't spend it. And I mean, but that's this infrastructure money that we're hoping to get, and we're willing to put up part of what we've already been given through the ARPA as a match. We're hoping that we'll actually be able to make some progress on some of these issues that before our revenue streams have not been sufficient to fund.
Even back to the I grew up in the Medina Village. Just for an example, specifically, I live on a road that barely 2 cars can pass. There's no operational storm during the water advisory. It's 50% of the time. We're not, again, it's back to the, we're paying in, but what improvements or at least maintenance is seen. I don't mean to sound like I'm sitting there right.
No, it's okay. When you were talking about the trailer park, and I would live there when the apartments were built, and the trailer park was already there all that time ago.
And a lot of it boils down to individual stuff. It's like, at least cut your own grass or pick up the trash.
Right. It's changed a lot. It's a lot more crowded there now too. But we haven't forgotten about those parts of the county. In fact, we've been more focused on the outer parts of the county, I think, than any other commission. We know that everybody pays taxes, and we know that everybody has not seen a benefit from the taxes they've been paying all these years. And that's why we have been taking a look and gathering data from our public service districts and other places to figure out how we can better serve people throughout the county, and rather than the ones located close to a municipality.
I don't think so. I'm just showing up here just.
Oh, no. I mean, it's important, and you have some unique perspective, having, worked on some of these projects that are a high priority for us. So I'm actually making a note of your name when we put a board together. So we might hit you up because we're likely going to need an advisory board of really bright people who understand this stuff to help us move forward on these infrastructure matters. So I hope you'll consider us when we get that together. So,
Plus, oh, I'm
okay,
sorry.
go ahead, Todd, I'm sorry.
I drove through Adena Village yesterday afternoon, and I went up up toward, all the way up to the coal camp on the next road up, that you turn back to the left, and there's a lot of need down there. One thing that we are definitely working on in Montgomery is the old gym. It's going to be changing its name to Montgomery Athletic Center or Athletic and Aquatic Center. Yeah, the old Bozzie Center. So we know that there's a lot getting ready to happen, but you want to see action now, which we completely understand. All three of us get very frustrated, as was indicated earlier. So I'll be down in the valley again this week sometime, and I'm going to call you. And I want to stop and see about everything that you can show me in Adena Village. And then I want to find out who actually owns the streets. Is it the state?
It is the state.
Okay. We have good connections there, so.
Okay. So now, Eddie, since I'm new at this, is what's next? We vote on what to do about this? Or?
Well, I can tell you this, in past years, when I've sat in on these hearings, county commission takes it under advisement, and then you get together and make a decision at a later date. But you guys, I mean, you're the commission, you can make a decision today if you want. I mean, I'm just telling you how they've done it in past years.
Do you want to make them all on the same date? Do you want to
Yeah,
do
we
the
can do
hearings and
that.
then make them all on the same
Or
day?
at the end, or the
Yeah, at the
last
end.
one, yeah, that would be a good idea. We
Okay.
take that under advisory, and then if we want to make a decision, because we still have a month of this, right?
Right, we have some more sessions to have, so, all right, so we do have another case that I saw in our folder from Michael Harmon. Have you heard from him or seen this letter that we got?
Yes, he is like Hunting Lands LLC,
Uh-huh,
Hunting Woods LLC, yes. I spoke to him, and what we found out was we picked up a new house. The guys were out there, and we have the GIS map with the guys right there, and there was a house on his property, and we picked the house up. Well, once we started digging into it, and after speaking with him, the house was picked up on the wrong parcel because it was mapped wrong. So we have revised the map, and they're over there this morning working on that, rekeying everything, so he'll be fine. He said if that's the case, if you assess me for the house that I don't own, I'll withdraw my application. That's what he told me in letter form.
okay,
So.
all right, I just wanted to make sure.
We found out that issue, and we're going to correct it.
Okay. All righty then, at this point, we're gonna go ahead and, we're going to reconvene the Board of Equalization and Review on February 4th at 9 a.m. for any cases that come forward between now and then. And move on with the agenda. Thanks for coming. We appreciate you.
May I make a suggestion that we should take it under advisement and vote?
Move to take it under advisement and then what?
And then later issue a decision?
Yes, I move that we take Mr. Garvett's and Mr. Young's testimony under advisement and make a decision on the last day the board convenes.
In a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Exonerations?
I don't have any exonerations. I do have some two divide and segregate type things to submit there for you guys to sign.
Is it the same? Are they two? I just see one.
And we do.
Two separate.
Yeah, he has a group of property over here and then he has a group of property over here.
No. I'll let
These
you-
are Ronald Brandstetter. They're both the same owner of the property. They're all his properties on both. I don't have a problem with these requests.
Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve the, yeah,
A second,
combined and divide land.
a second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Where do I sign these for you or somebody, do I
You
sign
do.
these here?
Down here on either one of those.
Yes. I don't know what Amy or Ruth do with those. I used to get a copy.
Okay,
And
we'll
I
hold
think
on to
they have
them.
to file them in the county clerk's office.
Okay, I'll hold on to them then, because I don't want to get in trouble. Not,
Okay, guys, just for clarification, and I may have missed it, but we have to swear people in, anybody that's going to speak in front of the board. And I
okay,
don't think we did that this
No.
last time.
definitely did not.
Yeah, we don't want to just.
Okay.
For next one. Okay.
Good to know.
All right.
She did put all that in the statement that I think is for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that love story postponed until the last meeting?
The decision, we'll just make all the decisions at the next at the
Right, but
last,
I mean, the love fellow postponed
until the 16th, yeah.
16, okay. All righty, thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks. So vouchers and invoices,
I think I'm good with all of them except for the first one.
and that's the payment to our 911 consultant, which was mistakenly issued, right?
Correct.
But
Has it,
not sent out.
it's not sent out?
No,
Okay,
no, these are us, the checks haven't issued, we have to prove first and then the check's issued. So it has not been sent out.
you probably want to say the name, Tom.
I'm looking for my piece of paper.
Well, Cindy Hart is today.
Okay, Cindy Hart. Yeah, that's the only right name it is. Yeah, Cindy Hart, Cindy
Okay.
J. Hart.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, there aren't minutes, I've been sick. You said he had, we do have estate settlements here. The names, Lonnie Eugene Deering, Ruby J. Garrett, Brenda K. Gilman, Charles Philip Hall, Clifford E. Humphrey, and Robert Shannon Mulligan. I move that we accept these estate settlements.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Who's playing Ruth today?
Me.
Oh,
Me.
Hey,
I'm
Ruth.
Ruth. So exhibit. A. What is that? Okay, so there's an MOU with the West Virginia Office of Technology for State Email Service. The MOU basically just goes into you guys got a copy of the amounts of money that we pay for each account, including mobile access. Hopefully, we won't have to pay for this that much longer. I think we probably have another year on it until we get our own domain and everything set up and to get everything forwarded, but I read it and it looks standard to me. Anthony, did you get a chance to look over it? Now I can't find it though. I don't know where in this folder it is.
Like this.
Yeah, that's it. Hold on, let me see here.
okay. Then I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with the State Department of Technology for email sites.
Okay, and I second it, although I don't see it in this folder, so I'm gonna have to keep looking. Well, it is in the exhibits, but I'm looking through the original, so the one I have to sign, and I don't see it in here. Mm-mm. But, is any problem with them stamping? Or I can sign it later.
You're the only one who has to sign.
I'm the only one who has to sign it? Okay.
Yep.
All right, well, we approved it, so we can just have her sign it.
Did we vote?
Did we vote? I thought we did.
Oh, we did, okay.
He's throwing me off. Throwing me off. Okay, then we have this letter, to the state tax property division extending permission to make adjustments of February 15th. My question in Anthony's absence was what adjustment? Because our original letter gave a lot of power and had very little information about what we were giving them permission to do. So after inquiring of Mr. Young, our assessor, I asked that Joy amend the letter, and it says Fayette County Commission gives the State Property Tax Department permission to review and make changes as deemed necessary. It did end there. We added 2 correct mineral and industrial values up to and including February 15, 2022, the final day of the Board of Equalization and Review. We appreciate your assistance.
Motion to approve that letter.
Second.
That's not the language that's on the exhibit.
I know, that's why I just said I had it changed because that was a blank check right there. I was like, what, why would we give them a letter that says make whatever changes deemed necessary? That could mean take away all of our money and we're fine with it. Does this sound fine? Do you want to look at it, see it's written down and make sure you can look at it? I texted Eddie last night and asked him, what exactly do we need to give to them to, and
I think that's, details are better.
thank you. Okay, all right, so we had a motion, a second, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, is Tiffany on Zoom?
Last name?
Caudle?
I don't see any call, but I
911
think,
insurance?
911 center. Don't see anybody from 911 center.
Kevin on there?
No Kevin Walker.
Well, we're gonna skip that for a minute and then they're gonna be present. So to the flood insurance, the flood insurance at the animal shelter needs to be renewed. It expires on February 16th. And this is to cover our damages should there be a flood since we own the property.
Make a motion to approve.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got that one done. And you've got the reappointment of Michael Wiseman II to the PSD board.
Oak Hill, White Oak.
Yeah.
I'll motion to accept it. Approve it.
Okay, and I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so hold on.
The reason why Tiffany and those guys aren't on
Mhm.
is because they're going through the training right now with John from Region 4, because that training was this morning.
Okay, well, in that case, we can postpone that item until Friday,
Yes,
because I want them present to do it, unless any of that stuff, don't y'all?
Yes.
But they need to notify, did they notify you? Is that how you know, or did you just happen to know?
no, they notified all 3 of us.
They did? Like right before the meeting or something?
Yeah, it was sent out, just a second here and I'll grab it.
I checked my email before I came in this morning, didn't have it.
It was email from
It's Tiffany Collins.
a couple of weeks ago.
Tiffany
Oh,
Collins, sure.
gosh. Okay,
You can approve that motion.
we haven't even postponed yet.
Unmuted. Wait.
Tiffany, are you ready to present on these 2 items you have on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sweet. Tell us what they're about, please.
This is the Empg grant. This is the grant that helps fund mine and Kevin's salary, as well as helps fund some of the bills for the emergency management.
Okay, so there are two separate things that you have on here. You have these hazard mitigation things. Which is the grant? I don't see the grant paperwork.
It's the Empg Grant.
We have,
That's not
Tiffany, we have Loop Creek Volunteer Fire Department and a deed on Kathy and Kim Eads.
Okay, that is the hazard mitigation grant. It's the two projects that we've had open for a while now from the 2016 flooding. When I originally did the application, we was told by the state office that we did not need an Exhibit A attached with these two projects. Then they come back and said that we did need to have the Exhibit A attached to the deed. So that's what that is. That is the Exhibit A that we have to attach to the deed and record with the deed.
So there's nothing here I'm seeing.
I have these two.
Right there. In one place, no.
I have
Oh,
these
you have those, but.
in
we don't.
Ruth's folder. Yeah, not in my folder. And then the exhibits were in, I know they were in the soft copy they sent because I saw them, but
It's the same thing.
yeah, like here's, they're basically property descriptions is what they are.
Yeah, because I remember Loop Creek issue with their fire department. They lost one of their buildings. But Tiffany, if this is, you said that these were from the 2016 flood?
Yes.
So this is something that the commission has already approved, and basically we just need to file the exhibits with the original documents we filed. Is that?
Correct.
Okay. It's just your signature too.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, so does anybody want to move that we file these exhibits with our original?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
That's what she just said. They didn't attach
They
them.
weren't attached.
We have to record it. It's gotta be recorded all up. The
Will you
deed
let-
has to be re-recorded.
Will you-
Does it?
Yes.
This is what I've been given. It might be enough, but we probably do need to have it.
I know usually in any deed, you need exhibits or something. You need some kind of A or B or C.
So I'm not sure if I sent Amy the full exhibit or just the page that needed signed.
I have the problem is we can't just record an exhibit. We need to do the deeds. We just need to do a deed of correction
And attach them.
and attach, just title, it'll be the exact same deed, title it deed of correction. Make reference to the fact that the exhibits were not attached when it was first recorded, and that the purpose of the deed of correction is to add the appropriate exhibits to the deeds.
Okay,
So moved.
that we do that.
Yeah. Too much, I agree, John.
Okay, so, so the motion is that we follow the advice of the prosecuting attorney and refile the deeds with the exhibits properly attached and a description of why we are amending the original filing. Is that right, Anthony?
Yes. Who prepares the prior deeds?
Tiffany, do you know who prepared the original deeds on those two?
That would be Blankenship's office, but I wanted to say one thing too. Because they told us originally that we didn't have to have the Exhibit A's. Now we have to go back and redo them. We have to get the seller, which would be the Eads and Loop Creek Fire Department, to sign this. Then we need your all signature, and then I have to send it down to the state office, get their signature. They will send it back to me. Then we record it with the deed.
I feel like we need to reach out to Mr. Blankenship's office if he was doing the work for us, don't you? Or do you? I mean, what do you think we should do?
Well, I mean, I can't speak for Mr. Blankenship. I can simply say that when I was in private practice, if I made a mistake, I'd fix it. I wouldn't usually charge for that. Certainly wouldn't complain about it.
But it wasn't his mistake. It was the state office's mistake because we originally was told by the state officer we did not need these.
Okay, well then. But if these have to be attached to the deeds, we're still going to need the grantors to sign off on these attachments. We can't just file them and assume that, well, and the grantees by accepting the deed.
What if they've already signed off on, but it didn't have the exhibit? Does it matter? Is it?
The problem though is
We didn't see the whole.
I mean, these exhibits place restrictions on the property. And essentially,
Yeah, I've seen that.
if it's not, anytime you record something that's going to impact an interest in real estate, it's got to be signed by the grantor and it's got to make reference to those restrictions, whether they're embodied in the deed or by way of.
So even if the county's taking the property, because I believe that's what this is, the county's taking the property. Even if that's the fact. I'm just asking a question because they've more or less turned it over to the county the way that, am I right or wrong? The way I read that, the county's gonna own the property.
They have, here's what I think we ought to do, and y'all tell me what you think, but I think we ought to let Anthony reach out to Mr. Blankenship's side. He has the original deed, and he might be willing to redo it and, get it through the proper process. And he's also going to be aware if we have others we need to correct similarly based on this new guidance we're getting from the state. I'd like to start there.
That'd be fine. I don't have a problem. I agree with you both.
I mean, what do you think?
I mean, I'll be happy to talk to James. But like I said, for this exhibit to apply to, the restrictions on these exhibits to apply to the property, it has to be of record. And I realize it's.
Just like a covenants, basically.
Basically,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so rather than move to do any of the stuff we previously said, I'll move that we have prosecuting attorney reach out to Mr. Blankenship, who prepared the original deeds, to come up with a plan on how to correct these and any others that we may have improperly filed in the past.
No second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Anthony, if you'll just let us know when you're ready to put it back on the agenda, we can move forward from there. Okay. Why don't we take a 10-minute break? We'll reconvene at 10 a.m.
Thank you. You seen it in my eyes, didn't you?
Is that what that,
Yeah.
the swimming people, is that what that was?
That fish going by.
So, Anthony, I want to ask you about something. All right, so we're back on the record at 10 a.m. and just in time to hear Dr. John David with regard to the information the commission requested from Sal's. And I see Dr. David is here. Dr. David, can you come forward to the microphone, please?
May I ask Vicki to join me, please?
Pardon me?
May I ask Vicki to join me, please?
If I could join you?
Vicki.
Oh, Vicki,
Yeah,
of course you
Vicki
can.
come on up.
Of course you can. Yeah. Whoever you want up here. I was gonna say Vicki wants to, she can. All righty, so I know we had asked for some information from you, pending any approvals of grant support. Do you have a specific grant for which you are requesting our support today?
No, I came here today to talk about the city of Oakville request from you.
From us,
Yes,
which was what?
well, I have it here again.
Oh, request of us. So this is,
Well, my question was, Go ahead.
Go ahead, and ask your
Was,
question.
what funding did they commit to?
They did not say, they say is basically what was in the minutes here. They basically said if you do something, they'll do something, but
Oh, okay.
I can't.
There's no amount, in other words.
No, they say an amount to be determined contingent upon a commitment from us, not saying what kind of commitment. And then also allowing the city code enforcement officer access to the property. Has that code enforcement officer had access to the
Oh,
property?
yeah, and-
Since we've gotten the building, they've had access. In fact, the fire department has master key. Always has.
Okay, so basically we're at some kind of impasse where Oak Hill says if they give you money, we'll give you money. Is that
That's the way I take it.
what it seems like? Because at this point, we're not receiving funding requests for ARPA funds from anybody. We're gonna have all that on the same day, all at once. And there's not gonna be a whole lot of that money because we've decided in previous meetings that we're gonna dedicate that money toward broadband and sewer and water infrastructure projects. So there may be some left over for community, and I think we may even have another one on the agenda today where they're gonna make a pitch for ARPA funds, but at this point, we won't be making any decisions on that. So what amount was the estimate for the roof work?
Do you know the estimate offhand, or should I give because I can say something here?
You have it. I didn't bring it with me. You didn't ask.
We're estimating about $70,000. And we have a roof over the auditorium and the gymnasium. That's the problem. And I just want to mention again that the facility is a 911 emergency shelter. We have spent about $100,000 already on the sprinkler system. And so it's, basically it's on the National Register of Historic Places. And I might say, I think we have done, and Vicki has done a very, very good job in maintaining the school as a very nice looking facility compared to other schools that have been left abandoned around the area. So we're very proud to have maintained it, but we don't want it to see it, be destroyed by water coming into the facility. And so that's basically where we're at on that. It's a precarious situation.
Have you applied for any other grants? Because I know, as Mr. Pena could tell you that we've had flooding at our memorial building, similarly historic building, and there are historic building preservation grants that are available for things like this.
We have applied to the West Virginia entity that I think funded to do the roof of the memorial building, if that makes some sense. But that was not approved.
It was not approved.
You say you put a sprinkler system in there through the whole building in every room?
Well,
First floor.
First floor. Okay. I was gonna say, and how much did you spend on it?
$100,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it'd been a lot more. I was thinking for.
Well, if
Besides-
you do the whole building, we just.
You couldn't afford it.
I mean,
Yeah, I know. I mean,
we
I looked
raised as
into it. I
much
thought I was gonna have to
funds.
do it over Beckley. Yeah, it's not cheap.
Well, the thing is, Tom, what we're trying to do is to put it in where people will stay in for the emergency shelter situation.
Well, John, I hate to, I'm the kind of person that always look at people's finances when they come to ask the commission for funding. And do you have excess funds in your accounts to do any of this work?
Well, we paid for the sprinkler system, and that most of our funds, Tom, are what we call restricted. That is, they're dedicated for programs. We can't just move money around.
That excess fund that you have is restricted in a savings account?
I don't know, the excess funds, gosh, we're operating on fumes right now.
Yeah, there is.
Last month, for example, the heating bill for that building was $2,700.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I think it's cheap to get $2,000 for a building that big.
Well, you multiply that by 12 months.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's not fair, of course, because in the summertime, but then it's air conditioned. I mean, that
Yeah,
just
we
gives
should
you a
ask
sense that we don't have funds to bring contract to do that proper.
Okay. Well, I'm not trying to, I mean, I've looked at some of your 990s and I've looked at some of the funding you do have and in your savings and stuff, and I was just curious about it. If it's the same as it was a couple of years ago, because I know you're behind on your 990s.
The 990 is 2020, we're a year behind.
Okay.
John, didn't you come here and get some money from the county for that sprinkler system also?
We got about a long time, maybe 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We got a little bit of money from the county for that. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because
Yeah,
Yes.
I know that was when I first got here,
Yes.
and you guys came in and it was approved to give you funding for it, but I just don't know the amount right now, off the top of my head.
It was a helpful but modest amount, maybe 10,000 or so.
I can't remember the amount, but I knew that it was approved.
And we appreciate it very much. It's it's one of those things that we just need to do. When we got the 911 emergency center designation, it was important. And of course, we're operating a food pantry there. Yeah, we have
Do you have the Red Cross approval papers for the 911 center
That's something to
designation?
do, and I do, and I can do it again, yes.
Okay.
Would you like for me to do that again?
Well, I think that I'm going to send Kevin a message here.
I'll tell you, have you filled out the application that we have for ARPA funding? For our ARPA money?
We had it up and then I think we was going to use the auditor's database or something. So I'm not sure that we have one up just yet. We might. But
I mean, I'm just
I can
curious
really
if
answer.
they could fill one out like
Yeah.
everybody else.
I'd be glad to if you have that.
Is it still up? Okay, so basically, here's what we're doing, and just so you understand where we're coming from. We have, for the most part, to the extent we voted, decided to spend our majority of the ARPA money on infrastructure. And particularly getting it to people who don't have it, because this is one of those rare opportunities where, our revenue will never, ever, ever cover that kind of expense. And this is an opportunity to get that into this area. And we just did approve last meeting of an application where at least 5.5 million if our application is approved to get broadband to expand throughout like large parts of the county down 60 and 61, as well as 19 and some other 20, I think, right, and 41, some of our other main routes, but 16. So we've already been looking at that, but another like this, we've had 3 community center requests that are also emergency shelter for funds. One of them's on the agenda today, and I think it's going to be for $60,000 for an HVAC system because they're paying $3,000 a month in heating bills. That's over at Midland Trail. And then we've got the Visey Center down in Montgomery, which was a huge amount of money, even more, that they asked for us to match and Kanawha County to match. So what we're going to need when you fill out those applications, because we haven't decided yet, but if we do hold money back for those sorts of projects, we're going to have to understand the percentage of the population that is going to serve, and if there's any competing service in the area, is there an emergency shelter nearby that's serving, that's closer or close enough, because we've got, way down the valley, there's nothing down there, as far as an emergency shelter. We're going to need things to help distinguish your request from these other 2 in particular that are very similar for that sort of thing. We need you to give us everything you can to help us make a fair decision, assuming there is money to allocate for those things, which don't assume right now. But we are going to hear them all at the same time so we can compare them side by side and weigh the pros and cons of everything. Am I missing
Yeah,
anything?
no.
That's it exactly.
Yeah, you got it.
I might mention, or add to your, to your comment, that we have 2 emergency shelters. And that's also isn't necessarily the valley, but it serves a very important group of folks that live up Bridgeport Road. Often marooned there by the water.
Oh, sure.
By the bridge. And so just wanted to share that.
Out of curiosity, in this form that you fill out, it requests how much funding you would want to put towards the roof yourself. Do you have any funds that you would want to put towards the roof yourself? Or is it just you requesting the full amount?
We were going to ask Hill to support it and you to support it, and we were going to provide a good chunk of the labor. So
Also, no, basically the labor.
So consequently, it would be a contribution
Okay.
match.
Okay, so I mean, all of that, just make sure that's clear. According to, and you might want to sort this out with our 911 center, they're saying that right now the building's only certified as a warming station and not as an emergency shelter or a full functional emergency shelter. So just before you come in, maybe try to resolve that discrepancy with them. If you have paperwork they need, or you can reach out to Kevin Walker and.
Fayette County, you just never know, right?
Well, I mean, we're not experts
I mean,
on
we
that
have
stuff, so.
We have a kitchen facility that we have fed over 400-500 people in hours.
Yeah.
We've got the 6-foot tilt.
I'm not saying you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But.
I just wonder why they did that. I don't, because I think Barber Painter applied for it. So
Well, the document we have shows that it's a full.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, and maybe they just need to see that. I mean,
Okay.
but we get, that information from them, and you guys,
We
have other
showers,
information.
we
I'm
have
pretty sure I
pools,
saw the Red Cross thing you're talking about,
Yeah.
because I think you sent it to us, but.
We have showers, we have full kitchen.
But there was something about it, according to my memory of when they told us some time ago, that it for some reason it functioned like for the day, but not as an overnight shelter. And there was some distinction, and I don't know what it is.
Over 100 beds.
Okay.
They're actual beds.
Okay.
Some bed.
One beds.
Okay. Well,
Who knows?
have you guys been opening during these storms, or been prepared to open when we've had these?
We
ice
have
storms?
when we've been requested, because we don't just go out and do something arbitrarily when other people are doing it.
But
like you
you
say,
haven't
not
been
duplicate.
requested during in the
No.
past month?
We have been prior years, but we
Yeah.
haven't been in the last.
When the
year and
last
a half.
time you was requested?
I don't know the last time. The sheriff's office is usually the outfit that notifies us.
Or the police department, or Hannibas, Bill Hannibas. They've
Well,
called
they
and
should
asked
be
before.
the 911 center. Okay, all right, well,
But
thank
we're
you.
open. I mean, there wouldn't be any problem.
Oh, yeah, I just wondered, because now I get the calls about the weather and stuff.
In fact, that's why I gave a master key to the fire department, because if something happened in the middle of the night, they needed it.
So
And
Kill
they
FD
have
has
it.
a master key?
Yep.
Okay, all right, that is awesome to know. So, Abby has confirmed that our, ARPA application is still on our website, so I would say just use it and fill it out, and we'll advise you when we have a hearing for all of that, those requests.
Can it be sent?
I can print it off.
Okay, that would be wonderful.
Yep. I'll just have to run up to my office.
Right, that's fine. That's fine. Make sure. Thank you very much.
All righty, thank you for coming in.
Well, I have one question, maybe I'm out of line, but when we were here before, I thought your main issue was the support letter, just for, like, we can apply for different funding for the residents of Fayette County, which is what I've done most of my time with SALS, is for the weatherization programs, rehab programs. And those are grants that we continually apply for throughout the year.
Mhm.
And I'll explain it to you the way I know it for the last 20 years. If we apply for a grant, say through USDA, and they award, say, $20,000 for the whole grant for 10 homes, having that letter of support from Fayette County helps us when we present these grant applications so that we can apply for the grant. The grant doesn't give us money, but it goes directly to the homeowner. I don't think I explained it real well last time. Like, say you applied for the grant through USDA through us. They're going to do 10 homes at 5,000 a home. We go in and look at your home, see what your basic stabilization need is, whether it be heat system, a new roof, whatever. And then that's what that homeowner gets. And those are the kind of grants that we apply for. They're not grants for us. They're grants for the people that do apply.
On their
for it.
behalf.
Right. And
So,
they're low income. And it does help if we have support from the county. You know, I've had, I'm blunt, I'm probably too blunt, but I've had people actually tell me that they didn't support that because they didn't feel that Fayette County had dilapidated housing. And that's not true. I know it's not true. And it hurts us when people say those things and they don't want to support us in that because we're not making stuff from these. We're helping clients in the county
I
that need
understand.
help.
I've got to interrupt you though, because there are two things. One, that is not on the agenda for
Right.
today.
I think it was the
Um,
last time. and
It
we
was,
didn't
but we
get there.
can't, I mean, there have been a lot of things in the past that we can't hear
Right.
today because they weren't noticed properly. But that's why I asked Dr. David about if that's what you guys were here about. But what you need to do if you want us to support a particular grant application is you need to be specific. We can't give those blanket letters saying whatever grant they apply for is good with us. We need to be able to support specifically your application for specific grants. So you just need to
Well, they
get those
come
before us.
throughout the year, but like,
I know, they haven't
there's
done that.
not really a whole lot of grants though for weatherization rehab. I mean, if we could do something just like that, because that's the one that really benefits the people in Fayette County.
It's not on the agenda, that's true, but we for
Yeah.
the Federal Home Loan Bank, for example.
Okay.
To put one in, and we did one for you, Bill. So
Yeah.
we'll make it very specific.
Just get them
Right.
ready and get them on the agenda and because we can't do like those
Right.
blanket letters just gave me a stab in my heart. Like I was like, really, we've been doing blanket letters because we don't do that for anybody. You know, we have to know exactly what we're backing you to request and when we're doing it. So we can do that. And then you guys have any other questions about anything else? One thing I do want to just plant in your heads while you're here is that we've talked multiple times on multiple agendas about our dilapidated housing issue, and we're planning to do some updates to the ordinances. And once we get that done and get a body together, whether it's through our URA, once it's redirected, or whether we do something else, we certainly appreciate your participation in it to make sure we're all on the same page of tackling that problem, because that's, you guys have some unique skills and the county's going to have priorities because of the economic development and the housing shortages. So
Right. Yeah, I'd love to do it.
I might mention, I told John about this, that previously we did obtain some houses. We came here and asked for some houses that were on your, on your list back
Mhm.
then. And took two of those houses in Boomer. And one of them was torn down. It was too far gone, really,
Yeah.
even to our standard. And the other one we built back. And is now being occupied on that, by a family that needs it. So we have worked with you before on that.
Well, and I like the sound of that. And like, just like with Habitat for Humanity, we have homes that can be salvaged, and we can, if we end up acquiring them in some way and they can be rehabilitated, we might be able to get Habitat in here or other program to help, try to rehabilitate some of these homes. So we have homes, starter homes for our young people and that sort of thing that we don't have now.
Who's the homeowners that building you're talking about, John?
Well, we are still, we built it back and we're renting it out.
Okay, so
And the name of the family, I don't know the man's name, but the woman's name is Amanda Lois.
okay. I wanted to make sure that was clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for
Thank
coming.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Hope you get better. My family just went through all that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm not contagious anymore according to the health department, but I'm just trying to be safe for my colleagues. So just in case. Were you able to talk to Phil?
No.
Okay, you're gonna do that later. All right, so
I can try if you want. Yeah, we can.
only if you want to,
What?
only if you feel like it. I can skip and get to Michelle real quick. If you want to try and call her out.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll step out.
Okay. All right, Miss Holly, do you mind if we go ahead and do your thing? We're gonna skip over our 10:15 item briefly while the prosecutor reaches out to Mr. Tissue. This is the presentation of the ballot commissioner names.
Yep, I brought you guys a letter this morning. I was matter of the letter last week. Couldn't get my mind wrapped around one bit more.
Here it is.
Yep, so the county clerk appoints a person from the party that got the most votes in the last general election and the party that got the second most votes in the last general election to serve as the ballot commissioners. We serve as a board of ballot commissioners. We are the ones that will double check all the information, verify the candidates that go on the ballot. And there's some other code things involved with like making sure that information is posted at the polling places and that kind of fun stuff. So the process is we ask the executive committees to supply a name. If they do not, I could pick someone, but both committees chose to designate people. The Democratic ballot commissioner will be Mr. Jack Thompson. He has been it for several years. The Republican ballot commissioner will be Mr. Joseph Ray.
Do they give you backups just in case?
No. There's nothing in code that says anything about having backups for this. So we will.
I would just say like, by today's meeting is a good example of why backups are important.
Great. And I do want to
We've
point
got our
Jamie was
whole
ready to
resource
do that.
office down here supporting us, so,
I did have Janie was ready to do minutes for me, or I was ready to do it from Zoom. I just didn't want to sit next to John for 3 hours and risk getting sick. So.
yeah, no, we appreciate it. So, okay, I just asked that question
So it's
for
a good question,
your
and I'm not sure
consideration.
exactly how that would all play out in the grand scheme of things. I will be contacting them here in the next week or so. We'll need to start looking at the first list. We'll have the ballot drawing on February 22nd. So.
Okay. Okay, well, it might be worth posing the question to both executive committees, you know, especially in light of COVID and its variants having its way with everybody. I mean, you just never know.
We will have, I just learned that the executive committees apparently do not vote countywide. Like you will only vote on your representatives from your district. So like Plateau people will vote for Plateau, Valley people will vote for Valley, which again exponentially raises the number of ballot styles we'll have in the primary to 28 or 29. So a lot of things to make sure we've done them all right. And
They vote for.
so for the executive committees, it's not a countywide vote. From my understanding, from what I was understanding.
Oh, you mean when you're voting for who serves on them?
Yes.
Okay, so only Plateau people vote for the Plateau candidates.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
And of course, those districts also don't coincide with the House districts.
Of course they-
district.
Of course
I mean,
they
'cause they
don't.
don't follow precinct lines, so it's just a matter of making sure we have.
Is it me or do we have more house districts than we did before? I mean, it just seems like there was a little
3.
something for everybody
Yeah.
out there.
Well,
Yes,
actually
yes.
4, counting the one in the valley.
I mean, when I was reading through them.
Oh, yeah. Well, there's 100 delegate districts now, and there weren't that many before. I don't remember how many.
68.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay.
Ask the father of house.
Okay, so, all right, so you have given us the polling people. And now, the next thing was moving the polling place in the valley from the community center at 612 Third Avenue, Montgomery, due to construction at the Montgomery City Hall. We discussed this morning. My main concern, when I read the draft order, was that we identify whether this is for the primary or the general, because it says early voting and election day, but it doesn't say general and the primary. I think if you guys are going to use that alternate location for both, now would be the time. I did mention it to Anthony earlier and he agreed.
I think that if they're willing to make that change, they'll make life that much simpler at the general. When we come to the general, if we just go ahead and make that change.
Just make sure everybody who's voting this year in Montgomery votes in the same place for both elections.
Yeah,
Probably
and then we will, and by code, we will hang signs on the former place. There will be signs hung at City Hall that says, we know you came here last year, you now vote at the community center.
Is there a ramp that goes up to that old tech house?
The one that's the community center?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, there is a ramp.
there is a ramp there.
I mean, I didn't.
But it's moving to City Hall from there, isn't it?
No, it's moving to there.
Moving to the community
Yeah, they're
center.
doing
Yeah, there's definitely a ramp there, because it's like,
Yeah, because there's
Something like
there's
this.
construction. There's a slow construction company doing the stuff there, because they don't have the right person.
Get on
there.
that.
okay, so what we're gonna do is, given that, sounds like we're all on board with that change to the order, is, can I have a motion to approve the order with that amendment that we clarify, for the voting purposes, both early voting and election day, for both the primary election and the general election,
So moved.
the following change, okay?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
And, any objection to our staff stamping our names once these are made?
I don't have anything.
No.
I'm good.
Okay,
And I would, you have to publish the precinct changes anyway. I would imagine that, and you also have to publish your early voting location. We'll have to double check, but it might, the same publication might satisfy both code requirements.
okay.
I hope so. That way it would save us a few dollars.
Yeah. I'm sure we paid a good penny for this precinct.
Okay. All righty, so that takes care of the 10:45 and the 10:30. And you guys need another break?
I probably will. I mean, we're gonna have to take another break.
Well, let's take a 10-minute break and,
We can move the 11:15 up.
well, we can't because I was sick all week and I didn't do it.
Okay.
So that's not gonna happen.
It's done too.
So,
I was looking for it in here.
I
and
know.
I was looking for it and I was like, I didn't
Listen,
get
I've
it.
had the COVID.
I didn't get it.
So anyway, I moved that due to my failure to finish the job description and present to you guys in advance, that we postpone the 11:15 item to I don't want to do it for Friday. I want to do it, give myself more time because I'm still not great. When is our next meeting after that? The 10th?
Hey. they're
Okay.
here. Oh,
To the 10th.
A second.
yeah.
I
All those
appreciate
in
it.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Miss Taylor, we'll think about you. You're brutally honest even with yourself sometimes. That's one thing I do like. We are taking care of that, right?
Yep.
Nick,
10-minute
is
break.
Bill going to join you?
No, he had an engagement, he had to go out of state for.
All right, it's 10:39. We're coming back a minute early. Got one matter, the 10:15. We've asked the prosecuting attorney to reach out to Mr. Tissue because we're not sure we need to sign this order he's presented to us. Because he couldn't reach him, I move that we postpone that to February 4th unless Mr. Tissue can attend that hearing and Mr. Silberty will let us know.
Well, I kind of got the impression talking to his support staff that he was there, but that maybe he was with somebody, so I left my number.
Okay, so we ought to have something.
If he calls back, certainly I'll take his call.
just didn't seem like something that we needed to sign, and he's gonna confer with Mr. Tish, who's been doing that stuff for a long time, and just kind of get some information about why he thinks he needs our signature on the document. So I move that we postpone it for now until the 4th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Okay, and Mr. Mooney is here, Captain Mooney.
Not in that capacity, Commissioner. I wear many hats in my community, but not that one today.
All right, yes.
You guys are copy of everything that I included. Commission. I just stand right here, is that okay?
Oh, wait, you need to stand by the mic, please, so the people
Can hear you.
hear you.
Could hear that deep voice, sure. So I appreciate the opportunity to come in and give the commission an update. This was after the funding cycle and the grant disbursement for Region 4 for, I'm assuming it was 2021. We didn't get any allocations or grants. They suggested that we come in again and give you guys an update on where we're at in the process. Mr. DeLine can't be here today because he has an engagement out of state he has to attend to. So I'll answer any questions that I can, and if I can't answer your question, then I'll get you an answer as soon as I can. So just a brief overview of kind of what we do. We are at the Midland Trail Community Center. We serve the greater Midland Trail area. I consider that to be from the Valley, Golly Bridge, Alloy, Charlton Heights, Falls View, all the way up through Dane East to Meadow Bridge, up in that area. Then we got the Nicholas County line all the way to Fayetteville. Honestly, that's really who we serve. Our programs that we have at the community center currently, we house our, let me find a page so I can tell you which page it's on. So if you look at the page entitled Mtcc Programs and Activities, our sports programs, our youth sports programs over there. We have our youth football league, which is the New River Patriots. That's about 200 kids a year. There's usually around 600 people total. That stems all the way from the Valley up through to Danny's, Mount Lookout, Mount Nebo, over towards Fayetteville. I think we have one child from Oak Hill that participates in our programs. That's football and cheer, 200 kids. It's about 600 people. We're 100 plus people, 3 days, 4 days a week down there at the community center. The youth basketball program that we have is about 115 kids. It's about 400 people every Saturday. The Midland Trail Little League, which is our baseball, softball, is 225 kids. It's about 700 people. Now they use the football program, cheer program. That's their base. That's our base camp is the Midland Trail Community Center. Everything we do is there. On a home game weekend, we usually run about 1,200 people through there, which in turn helps out all the businesses down there and the restaurants because they got to have somewhere to eat other than the concession stand usually. Unfortunately, because that helps me out, right? The youth basketball program, that's where all their practices are. We used to use other churches, like elementary school, things like that. It just got to be a logistical nightmare with COVID whenever COVID started. So that's their base camp for everything down there. Midland Trail Little League, they use it for, they actually we have a couple of batting cages in the community center, and they run open cages for the whole community from any age. It doesn't matter if you're preschool. We have college kids that are out of season that come down and get work in. So, I mean, you're looking at
What about 50-year-old commissioners?
That's what I was going to say.
Yes.
I was going to say the same thing.
yeah, we'll make sure get you guys some private instruction and get you back on your A game. But yeah, so they use it, mostly for inclement weather. When there's inclement weather, they can't be outside. Our youth wrestling program, the Fayette County Freedom Fighters, it's about 50 kids, extremely successful. I'm very, very proud of the accomplishments that those kids have made. They use, we have a mat room that's dedicated to nothing but that for them during the season. They use it for camps. Some of our freedom fighters recently placed, who are now school age kids, they placed out the SAZ tournament this past weekend. That's a really big deal. First time we've ever had that. And I attribute a lot of that success obviously to the hard work the coaches and the kids are putting in, but without the facility, I mean, they have nowhere to do any of this. Our youth soccer program, we entered into an agreement prior to COVID, right before COVID started in 2020. So hopefully that's getting fired back up again. We don't really have a role in that except for the facility. We don't have a say in anything that they do. It's just for the facility use. Middle school, high school, we have an agreement with the Board of Education that is subject to end soon. And they use it for flex practices, out of season sports, things like that. The Girl Scouts, we're base camp for the Girl Scouts over there. Travel softball, the West Virginia Adrenaline play, they use it. Travel baseball, the Summersville Lake Monsters come over and use it from Nicholas County. We're open to any and all programs that benefit our youth. We have renamed the old cafeteria building the Pete Hobbs Conference Center. Pete was a long time, he helped us found the community center. Yeah. We have conferences, meetings. Now this is all current, family reunions, class reunions, birthday parties, dinners. Those are all things that have happened recently for usage. And when I speak of usage, I need the commission to understand, we weren't naive in saying, okay, let's make this happen. Let's make this work without us putting in any work. We charge $25 an hour because we can't price ourselves out of our community. That it costs us about $74 an hour to turn the lights on and the heat or the air conditioner, things like that. So at $25 an hour, we're $50 in the hole every time we open the building.
Did we pay for our comp plan meeting that we had there? We need to then. Let's make sure Ruth knows. Okay.
So we were able to get an updated central heat and air in that room, in that building. So that has really streamlined and made us more efficient in that building. If you flip to the next page, the programs and activities, this is one of the ones that I'm very proud of, is we manage about $6,000 in scholarships.
I was reading that. That's what I was
I'm
reading.
very, very proud of that. I was part of the North Small Foundation Scholarship originally, and we transferred ownership to the community, or management to the community center, and we were able to do $3,000 worth of scholarships last year. The Diane Bloom Memorial Scholarship, which we managed, we were able to do $3,000 last year. That's something that's very near and dear to me, because I'm kind of partial to those kids over there, and giving them any opportunity we can, whether it be through sports, through academics, just any opportunity we can. I'm all about it. Continuing on the programs and activities, we also host the Appalachian Service Project, which is ministry based. They go out into the community and help either underprivileged or needy or older folks with their repairs on their homes. We've done that for, I don't want to lie to you, I think it's been 3 years. Summer of 2020, I don't think they came. They did come in 19, they did come last year. And as it's outlined on the page, it's about 40 or 50 people a group. It's a new group every week for 2 months. They usually come right after Memorial Day and they leave right at the beginning of August. Every week it's a new group from a new state. We've had Alabama, Tennessee, Virginia, Maryland, Kentucky, Georgia, North Carolina, that I can think of just off the top of my head. And they come in. We've went out because we're local at the community center. Our community center folks have went out and found and identified needs and families that needed projects done here, and been able to make a successful transition to get the applications put in and make that a success. I'm very proud of that. We recently entered into an agreement with the Fayette County Teen Court Volunteer Program. So we have that up and running. We have also opened a relationship with Active Southern West Virginia just this week. So we're looking forward to that. We spoke with Melanie a couple years ago, and daggone COVID just got everything jammed up. So I think that's going to be up and running, and they're going to be great. Future projects, the walking trails that are connected to Hawks Nest, they want to establish a trailhead at the community center. There is a grant out there that we pursued or looked into to kind of make that happen. It's all dependent upon what we do with the building, the classrooms, the actual school building is what, because we have a lack of parking. It is a huge drain on our finances. Our bill down there runs anywhere. It's usually, and now, don't quote me on this, but it's around $3,000 a month down there. And that, you know, they just took the Board of Education come in and took the heaters out of there to put it at Ansel Elementary School, just in case, the electric heaters. So now in the wintertime, we just shut it completely down, kill the water, kill the power. So it helps a little bit, but if we get that grant and we're able to turn that into green space and parking, I think that's going to be an outstanding opportunity for the trailhead to connect the community center down to Hawks Nest Trail. Youth soccer, like I mentioned earlier, hopefully that's up and coming in the future. The fitness classes, I'm excited for the pickleball. I don't know if you're familiar with pickleball, but I'm excited for the pickleball with Active Southern West Virginia. The food pantry, and since we house the Girl Scouts, we're now the drop-off point for their veterans donations down at the community center. So some of the challenges that we have is obviously the infrastructure was a big one. So the grant funding for the emergency shelter, because we are designated as an emergency shelter for Fayette County. We have pretty much everything in place down there. If something was to happen right now, I believe two phone calls and we could be rocking and rolling down there with staffing and everything that we're outfitted with that is stored there. But we have to find, as it's outlined on this page, we have to find a sustainable use for the classroom building, or we have to demo. One of the two has to happen soon. We are ending our agreement with the Fayette County Board of Education, should be May 2022, May of this year, and that's a loss of $12,000 a year. So some ways that we're looking to offset that is additional memberships. I gave you guys a copy of our membership application. We also use an app called Member Planet that we can do, people can do it online. As you can see, an individual membership is $50 a year. We were blessed last time we did the membership drive, and we had a lot of family membership. We are not afraid of the work. We will put in the hours. That's not the issue. The issue is I don't know that we have enough to keep it going. Most people to keep it going, honestly. So additional memberships. With the Board of Education not being there, we block off time every day for them if they need it, or if they don't, it's still blocked off. So we'll get an increased use of the gym, the Pete Hobbs room, the conference room, the football field, the band room, different fundraisers, sponsors, advertisements, things like that. We've tried to make this work. I'm a part of numerous organizations, probably a dozen at least separate organizations. And we end up tapping the same resources for every single organization in the county over and over and over. So one thing that I have tried to do is make it a point to try to get this done on our own as much as we possibly can. Because I don't want to have to keep going back and wearing that gift horse out. If you flip back to the very first page, the Mtcc programs and activities. So working with the Region 4 Planning and Development Council on two grants. And we plan on doing this again this year, same grants. So the Community Development Block Grant, it would be the funds used for the mitigation of impacts from future flooding events. We're designated as the shelter. We have generators. We have showers that we have put in with the help of ASP in the gymnasium. So we, for men and women separated. So that shouldn't be an issue there. The handicap access, we have handicap access now. It's fully functional. There's no issue. It's a little primitive. You have to go the long way around, but there's a set of stairs, 3 or 4 stairs when you first come in the foyer to the gymnasium that presented a challenge for us, but we made a way around it. We do not have a generator and we do not have the HVAC. That's the two things that, the funds would absolutely be used for, other than updating everything else, is those two things. The HVAC, we use a waste oil boiler. You know, originally it was coal fire boiler. The school got rid of that. It was inoperable. Then we went to electric heat and we couldn't afford that. We tried it. We couldn't afford that. So now we use waste oil. We have good partnerships with some folks that we've identified that, and we have dozens of people in the communities right now that'll call me on a Friday evening and say, hey, you guys still taking oil? Yes, sir. And they'll take it down there and drop off a couple of jugs by the door.
So even with that waste oil, I'm just curious, I know somebody else that uses one, Plateau Water uses one. It still costs that much money to heat?
That's with the cost. That's with the waste oil boiler. You should have seen a commissioner before the waste oil boiler when it was all electric. It's a huge space.
Yeah.
It's a huge space. We're working the gymnasium. Along with the gymnasium, you have 3 or 4 bathrooms. You have a full downstairs basement in the gymnasium. You have 2 or 3, 4 locker rooms. You have the band room, well, the old band room, which is now the mat room. There's 2 offices also. Then you have the foyer and the electrical room. That's just the gymnasium. Then you have and that's what the waste oil boiler serves. It's just that building.
Okay.
It's a huge building. And then on top of that, we're having to keep heat on at the time last year, we had to keep heat on in the main classroom building because of the water and things like that. So we've been able to winterize all that and get that cut out. So hopefully it helps. Hopefully that'll help big time.
Dave, ever had a problem not having waste oil?
We have. There's been a couple times. I'm not gonna lie to you. There's been a couple times where we've been out in the middle of the night having to go rob Peter to pay Paul and get some oil and to get it turned on. We show up down there for anybody in the community that goes to our basketball games on the weekends. It's nothing to show up in there and before the waste oil boiler, or even if it malfunctioned, you'd show up in there, it'd be 45 degrees.
Now, is it just motor oil, waste oil, or
Anything, any type of oil.
You can use deep fry oil? Could you use deep?
We could. We actually could. Yeah, we make it.
That's the reason I was
Yes,
asking.
sir.
Okay.
Yes,
All
sir,
right.
we can.
Okay.
Any type of oil,
Okay.
any waste oil, hydraulic oil, any type of, fry oil, anything.
Okay.
So Region 4, the community center, the town of Hampstead, we applied for the grant last year, but we were not selected. We will reapply this year. The state hasn't released the application schedule for 2022 yet. But we're connected in that circle, so hopefully we get that information and we'll get it. We'll do everything on our end. The funds used for the community development grant, going down to the block grant, we applied for this last year to demolish the plan was to demolish the classroom building and create additional parking and green space. We were not selected for that. And we're actively working with Region 4 right now to get that resubmitted. The applications are due the 2nd of March. So that's kind of where we're at, commissioners. Like I said, at the request of Region 4, is just kind of come in and give you guys an update on where we're at. And I did print off the American Rescue Plan funding request summary form. I went through a lot of that. I don't know. It looks like we will qualify for some of that. I don't know to what extent, but I know that option's out there too, and we'll pursue that. But is there any questions that I can answer for you folks?
No questions, but I have some suggestions.
Sure.
Work with Kevin Walker at the 911 center. Have him look for a generator grant, because they have some available grants that they can get. Then with that area getting ready to bloom, as we hope that it does,
I agree.
maybe reach out to the Department of Tourism, state funding, and Gabe and Abby, if you guys could look at any type of grant for these, for this area, it would be greatly appreciated. And Nick, as a person who used to work with kids and stuff like that, I really appreciate everything that you do
Thank you.
out there working with the kids. And I appreciate you as a deputy too.
Thank
But
you.
taking the time that you've taken over the years that you've done this, and to see your level of desire is very admirable.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You have any questions?
Well, if Oak Hill City will let me do away with my, my grease trap, my grease thing, I will have you plenty of grease. Help you any way I can. I do
Thank
know
you.
that.
I
But I'm
appreciate
gonna
it.
fill this out and fill this out and send it in or give it to you.
Either or would be fine.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
All right, yeah.
Okay, I have just a couple of questions. So when you were mentioning the Appalachian Service Project,
Uh-huh.
does that, it sounds a lot like the stuff that Sal's is supposed to be doing. I mean, is that, did you guys work with them at all on anything like that, or is there any overlap or?
I can't answer that, ma'am. I have no idea.
Okay, and another question I have too, it's something I would like to know the answer to at some point.
Mhm.
But also like, I'd like to know what the process is to decide who receives the help when you have that, because we're starting to address our dilapidated housing issues, and I raised this when Sal's was in here earlier, but anything we have going on like this, I'd like to loop the folks in who are organizing these projects with our people who maintain the dilapidated housing list and things like that, because some of these homes may be able to be rehabilitated for first-time home buyers. And that's something that's,
Sure.
high priority to us, in addition to helping the elderly and disabled
Sure.
maintain their homes. But
So do you get funding to do that?
No, all we do is house them. That's all we do. They lease, so they literally come down and set up cots in classrooms. They use our kitchen. We have a full commercial kitchen in the Hobbs Center, and we lease space to them. That's all we do.
so right now, but if you demolish the classroom building, you won't have the ability to house them. Is that
No, we will figure it out, Commissioner. I'll give you my word.
okay? And I was just going to ask, I see that you guys they've expressed interest in continuing to use it. Have you guys reached out to them about
We
this
have.
year and beyond?
We have, absolutely. They really want to make the community center their base, almost their permanent Southern West Virginia base camp. They're based out of Tennessee, and they really enjoy the area and the facility. And I don't know any other facilities they use, so I don't know what they're comparing us to, but we're blessed. They're a phenomenal organization. Erin is the project service manager she is our contact. She comes down at least a couple times a year and meets with us in person, and they're a phenomenal organization.
Well, if they're interested in that and you guys have the ability to negotiate something with them with regard to that classroom building, you may want to try to do that. They may
Yes,
have
ma'am.
some funding available or something that may help their.
We've had a lot of open conversations with them about the issues that we face down there, and they're willing to do whatever they can. I don't know that that's an option, but something can always change.
But they'd like to see it stay there. That might make us eligible for other funding avenues.
Yes, ma'am.
Is just what I'm suggesting. But anyway, let us know if there's anything we can do.
Yes, ma'am.
With regard to, I know you guys want to replace that, your HVAC system. That was something that you've mentioned to me before. Definitely put in for the ARPA funding request. We have mostly decided we're going to allocate that money toward broadband and water and sewer to people who don't have it,
Mhm.
unserved areas. There may be some that we hold back for projects like this. We have so far 3 community centers requesting funds. This is the most comprehensive presentation I think we've received about what any community center has done and with numbers and this is kind of information we wanted to be able to look at those if we have to look at them side by side and decide, who's getting served by this, where are other sources of income. So I commend you on getting us the data that we've been asking for
Yes,
to
ma'am.
help us make the decision. So I don't know whether we'll have enough to give you all or part or any, but this is certainly goes a long way toward helping us answer the questions we need to answer to be able to do that.
So and this made me think about it when you mentioned the HVAC. So one of our delegates presented the governor's office with a proposal to fund that. It was $90,000.
Mhm.
We haven't heard back yet, so if we do, I'll update the
He called
commission.
me about it,
Okay.
Delegate Fast.
Fast.
Yeah, he called me about it, and I had already talked to Captain Mooney about it too, but yeah, he said that when he called the governor's office said, well, Fayette County has all this money
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'd love to have them open our books and actually talk to Ruth, look Ruth in the eye and tell her that, but, and it sounded like they were basically in their minds doubling what we have for ARPA. And they
Yes.
were counting money we had already spent on CARES. And so I corrected him, Delegate Fast, that Fayette County does not have all this money, but I did tell him that we had infrastructure projects that we were pursuing with the money that's been allocated to us. And he said that he would go back to them and he would give them my number if they had any questions. So I said, you know, by all means, give them my number, but we'll keep pushing our contacts there.
Yes,
too.
ma'am. Thank you, guys.
And one more thing, you said the part of that community center you wanted to tear down and make it a parking lot for a trailhead.
Well, it's just the parking in general.
Parking.
More parking would open up numerous other things that we could do.
Could be used as a trailhead for a trail that leads down into the New River Gorge.
So just behind the community center property is, I know you're familiar with the area. So just behind the community center property is like where the Ansted PSD is and the trail and the road that connects to the trailhead that goes all the way to the marina.
Okay, would the community center be willing to designate, I mean, I'm trying to find you grant
Trailhead
funding for
Yeah.
trailhead parking.
Yes, sir, we
You know
would.
where I'm going at with this, Gabe, some of them grants.
Yeah, that was part of the grant that we applied for last
Okay,
year.
so you already did that with
Yes,
the
sir.
trailhead. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thought I was barking up the tree that nobody's barked up before.
Why'd they say no? Why the small bit, why'd that grant say no?
I can't answer that, Gabe. I don't know. I wish I could. Bill might be able to. Somebody with Region 4, I'm sure, could tell us.
Could you get that information for us?
One of the grants, so one of the grants, no money was allocated whatsoever out of the grant. Now, I don't know if that was for the green space grant that we applied for the demo of the building, or if it was for the HVAC part of it. I don't know which one that was. The other grant, when I looked at the disbursement by the governor's office, it looked mostly like it was for sewer projects, water projects, type thing, kind of the opposite spectrum of where we were.
Sure.
So
But there is some trailhead grants out there, right? Parking lot grants out there.
I believe so, yeah.
And maybe in conjunction, I mean, I'm just trying to think, if you would designate part, I think in conjunction or would go to a trail, maybe there'd be some funds to help with the whole demolishment.
be fantastic. Thank you.
I mean, I just-
Didn't the DOH pull those,
Yes.
Yeah, the RTP.
yes, that's what I thought.
Matching grants, you have to have some. It is,
I'll find the money.
yeah, see, we applied for it in July, it's usually this, spring, summer.
Thank you.
We can further discuss it. Yeah, I'm gonna hold you.
Thank you,
Tell you
Gabe.
something, yeah, no problem.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, thank you for your
Thanks
time.
a lot.
No, thank you. You're doing a lot of good work.
All right, looks like we've covered everything on the agenda. Anybody see anything we're missing?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Good.
Okay, we're adjourned,
Well done,
11:08.
Wow.